This is Reid Seals for AM 1340 WGRV for our final interview with Greene County Mayor David Crum, at least in his capacity as Greene County Mayor. Good morning, Mayor. How are you today?
Good morning, Reid. Good morning, Greene County.
First question, what do you think the school system will have to do now about declining enrollment in aging facilities since the consolidation did not pass?
You know, they've got some difficult decisions to make, and the community does. If they want to keep all the schools open, there's going to be a cost. I mean, you've got some of the small schools that you have one grade, one first grade, one second grade all the way through, and one teacher per that. And, that if it doesn't fit within, we have to pick up that extra money. So how much extra are we willing to fund to keep all the schools open? And so they've got some decisions to make. Do they keep open? Do they redistrict and say, if you live in this district, this is where you go to school, and try to put the people back in those districts? And so the school board has some tough decisions to make. And
why did county employees get a raise this year, and why was EMS's raise different?
County employees, what I have tried to do since I've been in office, I have advocated, because our employees went for like 7-8 years with basically no raise. The one they got was offset pretty much by an increase in their insurance cost. So what I've advocated, and we have done it, is that the county elected officials are mandated some raises by the state, and we have tried to meet those same raises. So they have got raises for 3 years. Don't know what the future may hold, but it's been able to help them. The judge in this lawsuit talked about Greene County keeping their employees' pay low. Now I have an argument, and it leads into the second half of your question, that if we're paying someone $11.50, $12 to do a job, and we're getting employees that can do that work that are coming in, then we're paying a raise and offering benefits that fills the positions. EMS is one of those that we're not. The pipeline of people going into that profession is not there. We're not filling the open positions that have been open for a long period of time. And so we're working people more hours than is just acceptable in order to be able to keep trucks on the road, and not keeping an adequate number of trucks on the road to fill the needs. So we did that study. It had a completely different, it was skewed, and there was problems with it, as we acknowledge. So we went back, and Calvin Hawkins and his director, TJ, they really looked at it and said, where can we get that we think we can keep from losing employees, and with our benefits, maybe we can fill that pipeline to where we can staff the way we need to. Don't know that we're completely there, but it was something that we've talked about EMS for 4 years, and one of those things has been the pay. So with that pay, we hope that we're there to be able to fill positions, because we can always say, well, that's not important. Well, it's not important as long as somebody else needs an ambulance, is what people will say. But if you need one, or your family needs one, you want somebody responding, and that's where we've got to look to be able to fill those jobs.
Now, this is a question that people always want an answer to. Why does the county fund nonprofits?
Some of those nonprofits, and Reid, do you have that list? Because some of those actually are things that, like First Tennessee Human Resources and stuff, actually helps with the net trans. So we see those in a way that's not really a county service, but it is. So when we call those, we can kind of hit some of those, and maybe I can explain. Obviously, 911 is a function that impacts everyone here. The rescue squad, that goes back. We can get Ron Metcalf and his dad in here to talk about rescue squad, because Paul Metcalf was instrumental in forming that, and we see that all the time and how they respond to disasters. So it's a nonprofit, but it's actually an emergency service that helps everyone in the county, so it needs to be supported. The library is one of those things that probably couldn't function. I think we need a public library. I support public education. We've increased some funding there. The forestry division, we don't give them a lot. It's $1,500, but that money, they do the permits and it helps them do some things in our county. By them being in that, even though it is a state, that's kind of a little offset there. Tourism economic development's pretty much passed through on hotel motel tax. The rehab center helps get people back to work, and by what we give gets multiplied in large part by the federal government grants and things that comes down. Roby, obviously I think everybody here is familiar with Roby and the functions they do for all of our citizens that can go there. Upper East Tennessee is the Head Start and some of those other agencies. LIHEAP, I think, falls under, and I may get this wrong, so please forgive me. It falls in some of those LIHEAP funds, falls either under Upper East Tennessee or First Tennessee Human Resource. The Meals on Wheels falls into, I think, First Tennessee Human Resource. Frontier Health, actually this money helps offset a salary of a liaison that actually goes to the courts and works, as we know, and it's been a lot of communication about the increasing number of people with mental illness getting into the court system. And so they try to liaison there to get people going. Keep Green Beautiful, we know what they do and try to advocate for recycling. And again, that comes back, if the more we recycle the things that we can sell, we keep them out of the landfill, that cardboard, that plastic, and those things that we can actually have a little bit of a market for, but we not having to pay to dispose of them. Child Advocacy Center, I'm going to try to keep off my soapbox that we ought to be given a whole lot more because of my background. They provide such a service for forensic interviews and assisting law enforcement in that one location where young people that have been victimized by at risk of severe physical and sexual abuse, they can go and they can deal with them. Second Harvest and helping to feed the food bank. And the Association of Volunteer Fire Departments is $205,000, but that $200,000 is actually coming out of the wheel tax. We designate $3 of that. I think there's some things on the backside here. We've actually cut that this year. The performing arts and some of those things that you may see on this, if you look at it, is funds that we gets divided out of the hotel motel tax for performing arts and recreation. So that's why we fund some of those things. And we get requests. My philosophy this year was neither one of those that made requests, I didn't feel like we should add in that we need to look at things that are helping our entire community for the most part. And if you look at those, I think they do.
The commission voted to appeal the judge's decision in the Clerk Master lawsuit. What happens next?
They will put together an appeal and send it down to the state court for them to review the case on all of its merits, and they'll make that decision. That's kind of been, as I say, I've been the lead person on that because I get named, but it's really all funding in the county comes through the county commission. I work to bring a budget with the budget committee and take it to them, but all funding sources really come through the county commission, and narrowly they decided they wanted to continue and look at that case.
Explain why animal control needs the fence that was voted on and why it could cost around $30,000.
What they're wanting to do is, it's been a concern for the safety because you've got two schools right across the road. As they bring dogs in, I don't know if you've ever had one get away from you, but it will give a little extra safety buffer around that facility. And Dr. Chris on the design a little bit with a gate to where when they come in with dogs or animals, they'll be able to open that gate. They'll drive in, that will be separated out and surround the facility so that if one gets away, that it's within that facility, and unless it's a tremendous jumper, and it won't be able to get out and possibly harm a child or somebody else. It gives us a little extra security around that facility because we have to bring in whatever we get, and sometimes, they're aggressive, and if they were to get out and get away, they're fearful because they've been placed in a cage and transported. Even a good dog can bite in the worst circumstances, so you place them in a bad area and stress them. So it was kind of one of those things that's a long-term thing to try to look to improve our the Jim Eagle Animal Control Facility down there. We've done several things there that we can kind of hit in since I've been in office. We took some workload off of the health department in bite cases. We had to add a person in, but that way they're doing all that, bite cases. That $1 vaccination fee that we put on has been a tremendous asset as far as being able to get them equipment like trucks, and down the road we'll be able to build up, I think, to help them get equipment and stuff down there.
And now at the end of this month, you're going to leave your position as mayor. So What are your plans? Have you made any yet?
Well, been applying and working. Got an offer that I think's good. We'll not get into that in too much detail at this point, but Louise and I kind of prayed, Lord, open the door that you want and close the others, and some that were great opportunities that I was excited for have closed. So if I'm going to be compliant with that prayer, then I need to be compliant and say, okay, those were tremendous opportunities, but the door closed, so that wasn't there. And this is one that has actually opened up. A completely different area for me, but I think it's a good opportunity that for me and my wife for the next few years. So been a lot going on in these 4 years. I hope this radio broadcast, and I appreciate Jim before and you, because it's given us an opportunity to try to communicate to the Greene County on why we do some of the things that we do that may or may not make sense. But there is several things that we've been able to do. One, we've put some money in capital projects that had always been just a small little amount coming in from TDEX rental space and a driver's license, but we're actually putting money in there to where we've replaced the roof on the courthouse that had leaked for 20 plus years. We've looked at some joint ventures, and we talked about the airport a few minutes before we came on the air, and Kincher Park was one of those that the city, the town of Greenville, it just did not fit in their area that they wanted to stay involved in, so we moved that and have a third-party operator. The airport was one of those that sometimes partnerships need to dissolve so that an area can grow and one area can focus on that. So they took over the airport, and hopefully by the end of this week, if not, it'll be finished up, that we've approached, and Tacoma through ballot is going to donate the EMS substation across from Tacoma and a couple buildings there to where we can have some long-term, make sure we can keep that presence there in that EMS. And the price was really good on that. I've had people laugh that they thought I was just crazy to go down and offer to let them give it to us, but that was kind of how it went. I met with Tammy Albright, and she's like, well, what are you offering to pay? And I said, I'm offering to let you give it to me. So, as they look for their assets and what fits in their long-term, from economic growth, some of the things that we've been able to work with is through the partnership is Worthington, a $300,000 grant, fast-track grant to be able to help keep them here and do some things forward there. We saw that big ribbon cutting that we've been able to keep those jobs here. Excuse me. As far as some fun things, TVA gave us $10,000 to put in that little raft tubing launch up at the Kincher Bridge. We've refinanced the school bonds, some of those, to save $250,000 a year, and so just a lot of the things we've worked on the clinic and to redo it, and now it's operated locally by Tacoma, that being Ballard now at a savings. So we've done quite a bit from our insurance, been able to keep our insurance rates constant. Haven't had to go back and ask the commissioner or anyone to put any additional funding in our employee health insurance. And most of you that are involved in insurance, if you can say you've held your rates steady for 4 years, you've done an outstanding job. So I think our insurance committee and some of these committees have just been really outstanding in some of the things they've been able to do. But I appreciate the honor and the opportunity that I've had to serve. As I say, I've quoted Tommy Castile several times, may not always agreed with me, but he knew I put a lot of thought, and I hope, and I've said this all along as I leave office, that people will accept that everything I did with what I thought was the best interest of Greene County, and not for any self-serving reason or promotional for me. And I really feel like I've achieved that. And so I wish my successor, Kevin Morrison, much success, and the next commission and all their endeavors, because there's still a lot. You brought up school, and still a lot. The world is changing, a lot's going on, and for Greene County to prosper, we have to move forwards. But thank you, Reid, and much success to you and your family also.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And even though Greene County Mayor David Crum will not be joining us next month, Kevin Morrison has said he will continue these interviews, so tune in next month to hear him. And want to thank you once again, Mayor Crum, for coming in every month and doing an interview with us.
Thank you, Reid. Thank you, Greene County.